Mr. Speaker.
The question is that the motion is moved by the member for Kiama be agreed to. I call the member for Maitland and Shadow Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and it's so interesting to hear the member for Upper Hunter, or should I say, Mr. 2% margin, come in here and boast about $1 billion expenditure on roads in his electorate, and look at all those bypasses, Mr. Speaker, all those bypasses he mentioned. Really, where do they all connect to? And that's the Hunter Expressway. That's the $1.5 billion project of the federal Labor government, the $200 million investment of the New South Wales Labor government. That's what he's been the beneficiary. And this government is so mean that on my electorate, which also could be connected to the Hunter Expressway, we have Testes Hollow. And let me go, I did a GIPA on this, Mr. Speaker, earlier this year, and I would like to advise the House that over the last 10 years, Testes Hollow has flooded on at least 6 occasions, requiring road closures of between 2 days and 17 days, cut off from the community. In fact, in April 2015, just after I was elected, that community was cut off for 5 days. But in January before that, this government had failed to do it, to make the business case that that was an important road that should be maintained. I note the presence in the chamber of the member for Upper Hunter, because he should be thinking about this. The business case that was presented, which was before the storms, did not include the impact of community isolation of several days and the economic loss, $500,000 of wages, millions of dollars of diversion costs to local businesses. A life was lost on that road because it was cut off. And this government, in their bureaucratic little way, they get a $15 million commitment from the federal government at the last election, and we've got the RMS there putting minutes out where they're saying that because of the political issue of having a Labor federal member and a Liberal government, they're going to have to spin this. That's what it says in the GIPAs here, Mr. Deputy Speaker. They're going to have to spin this as more investigation. So there's $15 million from the feds on the table. Now, just the last couple of weeks, they've been embarrassed. They coughed up $2 million. Now, that project, the RMS said it wasn't going to be able to be completed unless they put $30 million. If the feds had put 15, why doesn't this government spend the other 15 to do that? Mr. Speaker, let's go back. Discussions with Martin give them complications. I suggest we spin this as a piece of investigation. Now, the Auditor General, they don't believe you. They've called you out 10% on our regional roads, nothing on our regional roads. It is a disgrace. They can't stand up in this place and talk about anything.